Julia Gillard and the 52 other leaders and representatives at the Nuclear Security Summit in South Korea will continue their discussions today, largely in private. The Prime Minister is expected to use her presentation to talk up Australia's record of nuclear security and emphasise the need to do everything possible to prevent terrorist groups obtaining nuclear material. China correspondent Stephen McDonald reports from Seoul.
Well, today is the climax of the Nuclear Security Summit, where world leaders, including Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard, will all get up and make their presentation about what their country is doing to stop these so-called terrorist groups from getting hold of nuclear weapons. Now, I say it's kind of a climax because we're not going to hear or see anything of these speeches. For some reason, the organisers have decided to do all of this in secret, behind closed doors. Presumably, it's so they can speak more freely, but I can't imagine that this hasn't been so carefully scripted that every leader won't have had their officers, their departments of foreign affairs, going through what they're going to say to make sure they don't slip up, and that really no one's going to stray very much from the page, especially when you've got 50-plus countries there. Anyway, that's the way they're going to do it. So the way we're going to find out about this is a series of press conferences. Now, Prime Minister Gillard will be doing one in the morning before she speaks and then one again at night. Either way, though, what these leaders have got to do is come up with an agreement, a complete agreement, because any one country can veto whatever they come up with. And it's going to be up to China and the United States to perhaps rally everyone to the cause. Although you can't imagine, really, that this isn't already done and dusted. They don't already have the document sorted out, because they're not going to send all these leaders to this city to go to all this trouble to come away with nothing. So I just can't imagine that it isn't already pre-prepared, the final document. But let's see what happens. I'm guessing they're going to agree on this, then they'll go to this gala dinner and say, haven't we achieved a great thing by coming up with these measures to, as I say, prevent so-called terrorist groups from getting hold of nuclear weapons. But the big subject that's been looming large throughout all of this is North Korea. Now, they're not supposed to talk about states having nuclear weapons, and yet President Obama, every time he talks about North Korea, he keeps this issue going. He made a massive speech calling on Pyongyang to go down a more peaceful road and to give up this satellite launch, for example, which some people say is actually a long-range missile test. Prime Minister Julia Gillard also mentioned this. So it's going to be interesting to see what comes out of especially China and the US, which have had these meetings on the side to discuss North Korea. China has already warned North Korea twice that it's not happy with this so-called satellite launch. And when Pyongyang loses Beijing, its main backer as a friend, well, who does it have left?
Exactly. Stephen McDonald reporting there.